Wagwan people, what you saying? It is I, Diligent Fingers, and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel and stuff. Today I wanted to talk a bit more about mental health. Basically, it's been something that's been on my mind for the last sort of week, ever since like I posted something to do with letting people down. Um, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but it goes along the lines of, your mental health is more important than money, your career, your parents' wishes, your family's wishes, all that kind of stuff. If it means letting somebody down, then let somebody down. And it really got me thinking. I agreed with it, most definitely, but it really got me thinking in terms of, okay, who am I? Who am I essentially letting down, kind of thing? And that, like, who am I really letting down? And that, like, you know, I spend a lot of time on my own due to, my mental health issues, my PTSD and depression. So I end up spending a lot of time on my own, like a lot of time overthinking things and stuff like that. And I remember there being a point in time where everything was sort of breaking down, and I felt like I was letting a lot of people down at that time. I had no control over it. Like my health was deteriorating in terms of my back. And the PTSD was really coming on strong, and I didn't understand it. So as a result, I ended up losing the home that I had with my fiance. I ended up losing my job due to having too much time off. Things started breaking down left, right, and centre. You know what I mean? Yeah. During that time, I felt like I was really letting everybody down. Like I felt like I'd built myself up to a position where people were depending on me, and even though it wasn't my fault, even though I know now it wasn't my fault, even though I know now that I couldn't have really done anything about it, even if I wanted to at that time, even if I could at that time, the only thing that would have sorted things out at that time would have been money. And having an illness and having an ailment to do with my back, it wasn't possible for me to work at that time. And that was a really big shock to the system, because I've always been a grafter. I've been in employment since 16 years old, 15, 16 years old and stuff. So it wasn't like working was never really a thing for me. Like particular jobs were starting to get on my nerves, but being in the world of work was never a thing for me. Like it was just what had to be done, and to be able to support myself, to be able to support my fiance at the time, to be able to support my family, that's what I needed to do. So to be clinically told that I couldn't work, I can't work, and this has been going on now for like 5 years now, coming up to 5 years that I've not been in employment and this stuff. At the time, I couldn't have thought of anything worse. I couldn't have thought of anything more soul destroying than being told that I could not work, and as a result, things were going to and did break down around me. So then over time, I've sort of built myself into. I've sort of like I've sort of made sure I don't put myself in positions where I will let somebody down, or I could let somebody down. Hence, spending a lot of time on my own and isolating people. Because even, even like trying to come to terms with the fact that you do have a mental health issue, that can make you feel like you're gonna let people down within itself. I have massive problems with sleep. There'll be times where I go days on end without sleeping. And then I'll sleep for like 18 hours. And with when that's all going on, it's because I'm having nightmares and things like that, and psychotic episodes, which I hate saying that because it always sounds worse than what it actually is. But yeah, in terms of a psychotic episode, just having flashbacks and things like that from what happened to me nearly 11 years ago. Um, so even like not sleeping, it's not as if I can go to work and be able to function normally because I've got all of this sort of turmoil that's going on in my head. And as that's going on, as you're coming to terms with the fact that, okay, this is really affecting you, you're coming to terms with the fact that, okay, this isn't something that's going to go away anytime soon, if ever. You're coming to terms with all of these things, and slowly but surely you realize, okay, you can't do this anymore, you can't do that anymore. The things that I used to thrive on, I used to thrive on being able to be there for my family, and things like, and be there for people and things like that. I used to feel as if, as long as everybody else was okay, then I was okay. Bit of a weird mentality to have, and didn't really end up helping out in the long run, but that's how I used to think. So I say all of that to say, you know, ultimately I realized that the only person that I was letting down was myself. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with. A very, very hard thing to come to terms with, especially if you have low self-esteem, not that much confidence or no confidence whatsoever. You could end up turning that into, well, you let everybody down because you don't deserve to have certain responsibilities. You don't deserve to have this, that, and the other. And this week it took seeing that little paragraph of text to realize that I always feel like I'm in a state of failing myself because of like certain circumstances as to how I was conceived. Oh fuck it, I'm just gonna say it because I always try and be vague on here, but because I found out at a very young age that I was conceived from rape. My mother was raped for me to come into this world. For me to be, develop and then come into this world. Because of that, I almost felt like I never really, well, I did, and it wasn't almost, I did. I felt like I never really deserved anything because I was a mistake. I wasn't supposed to be here. I would have all of these thoughts of, does my mum see the rapist when she looks at me? Do you know what I mean? Do I have any of his features or anything like that? So with that, I'm always because I feel like I don't deserve anything, I'm always in a perpetual state of letting myself down, failing myself in certain aspects. And it took me a very long time to realize that. It took this quote for me to realize that. And I suppose the thing that I'm struggling with now at the moment is, how do I change that? How do I change nearly 28 years of, sort of self-conditioning in a way. Kind of like self-fulfilling prophecies. As if I keep thinking that way, then surely these things are going to happen. If I keep thinking bad things, negative things, then surely these things are going to happen. So I feel like I may have sort of shaping that further, emphasizing that in myself over, nearly 28 years. And I suppose it has to be a case of forgiving yourself in a way, or ultimately, and I have to kind of learn to forgive myself for spending this much time sort of dwelling the wrong way on this issue. I have to forgive myself for not really giving myself the opportunities that I deserve. There's probably so much that I missed out on as a result of not having much faith in myself, not having much belief in myself. up until now. Well, not even up until now. It's still a work in progress. It's still most definitely a work in progress. But I suppose the reason why I'm talking about it, I'm opening up about it, is kind of a way of telling myself that, I need to stop doing this. I need to rearrange this thing that's in my head that keeps me thinking this way and feeling this way about myself. But also, if somebody else may be going through a similar situation, then they may recognize certain things, help, maybe it can help them snap out of it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, as much as, it may sound like a cliche or it's something that's said so commonly, you do have to look after number one. You do have to give yourself that breathing room, that chance, that opportunity to change yourself for the better, if you really want to. Because of because of the whole rape situation, in terms of how I was conceived. There's been a lot of times where I've just not wanted to be here. I've just, and I've justified it in my head. I was a mistake, so it doesn't matter me being here. No way, no how. Anyway, you know. Do you know what I mean? I was a mistake, so if the good things don't come to me in life, then it's kind of par for the course, kind of thing. A really like self-destructive and damaging way of looking at myself, but that's how I felt about myself for a very, very long time. So then, if anything good did happen, I was so appreciative, and I'd fight so much to keep it, because I may never know, if that's going to happen again. And even further down that road of, getting opportunities, because of this thing in my head, and that I always end up getting to a point of self-sabotaging it anyway, because I'm still telling myself, well, I don't deserve this, and I'm not, I'm taking up some. I'm almost feeling like I'm taking up somebody else's space, because I found out that, like, I had an uncle that was born maybe a year before I was, maybe 2 years before I was. I've got an auntie that's younger than me as well, but she's my auntie, and that. But I had an uncle that died, like, shortly, not long before, I came into the world. So there was, for a long time, there was a part of me that felt like I was taking up his space, you know, in this world. I was taking up somebody else's air, kind of thing. Um, yeah, man, like, so I have to figure out a way, and if you are in a similar situation, we have to figure out a way of turning that around somehow. I don't have the answers. I'm not even going to go on as if I have the answers for it at all. But yeah, man, you have to try and figure out a way of turning it around and making yourself feel as if you deserve good things in life. You deserve good opportunities. You know, especially if it's like been a 28-year thing, like it has for me. Like, I've spent too much time almost justifying, convincing myself and justifying it myself, justifying the way I feel about myself, you know. Do you know what I mean? And then when good things come along, or when people sort of appreciate anything that I do, I'm really thankful for it. I'm really humble for it. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like moments like that can be fleeting. Do you know what I mean? Moments like that don't come very often, especially for like people that look like me and have been through the system, and things like that, been in foster care and this, that, and the other. And then and then bang, you know, rape on top. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, cool. Really, I should be thinking myself lucky. I know I should be, but when you've come from something really gruesome like that, really harrowing, and probably the most traumatic situation that my mum has ever been in, it kind of shapes you. It can shape you in a way that you don't expect. It can shape you in a way that you can kind of fuck you up over time. Basically, can really fuck you up over time. And I'm still trying to figure out how to not necessarily reverse those effects, but at least just turn them around somehow. It's hard, but I don't know. I don't know. I wish I kind of came to this video with more answers, or at least with a couple of answers in my head. But I don't know, man. I don't know. But if anything, if you are going through a similar situation like me, or you've experienced feelings of self-loathing and stuff like that, like me, you're not alone, man. If there is anything that I can say, then you're definitely not alone. You're definitely not alone. I'm sure there's many people out there that go through a similar situation like us. It's just, I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we can figure out what the answers are and what the remedies are. At least progress further with this whole mental health spectrum, the mental health issue that we've got going on in the UK. Not really. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, with that, thank you very much for watching and listening. Let me know if you've got any sort of ideas of, what people can do, down in the comments, exercises and things like that. Let's have a conversation. No, so yeah, thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you have an amazing day. Take it easy. And blessings to you all.